Hey everybody, it's GoblinX, and welcome back to another quick draft of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I saw that these were on Arena, and this was the last day to get into the quick draft. So if you want to draft some Lost Caverns of Ixalan, the time that you are seeing this video go live, this is your last day to hop back into the set before it rotates to Final Fantasy quick drafts. So for variety's sake, let's see if we can't hop into at least one of these Lost Cavern of Ixalan quick drafts here and get a peek back at this flashback set. This was a very aggressive set as far as I remember. So looking at this pack, what sticks out to me the most are really efficient removal spells like Dusk Rose Reliquary. Now this has a real cost to casting it. You have to sack an artifact or creature, but this can really help you deal with stuff in the early game. There are some expendable artifacts for sure within the set. There are map tokens, which are these little artifact tokens you can sack to explore one. So that's like, look at the top. If it's a land, draw it. If it's not, put it on the top or the bottom. So you could like sack a map token to this is the best way to use it efficiently. I feel like it's probably going to be Dusk Rose Reliquary here, but honestly, one of the commons looks like the other best card, which is Goblin Tomb Raider. I remember this card being particularly nasty. There was a really good blue-red Pirates deck that had a decent artifact counts, so this could be just a 1-mana 2/2 haste with no downside, which is really nasty. It has a relevance creature type as well, potentially being a pirate there. And again, just good aggressive 1-mana creatures played very well in the set, so that's a reasonable option as well. But I believe I'm going to start with the Dusk Rose Reliquary. And finally, one last thing to say. Millennium Calendar, this set is way too fast for this card. This would be a pretty slow card in most formats. It is an egregiously slow card in this one, sadly. Very cute card, though. But we'll start with Dusk Rose Reliquary. Pick number 2, there are some good creature tokens in the set as well that I forgot about. There's these little gnome artifact tokens you can sacrifice to cards like Dusk Rose Reliquary. So the Oltec Cloud Guard looks great. 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer and a 1/1 gnome. That's a very expendable card. The set had some pretty fun graveyard mechanics and stuff, like you see on the inverted iceberg. The craft mechanic allows you to exile whatever the card type it wants is. So this one wants an artifact, so you can exile an artifact either from your board or from your graveyard. So you can like sacrifice one of your expendable artifact tokens, or you can exile an artifact from the graveyard to use this card. And the inverted iceberg was pretty sweet as far as I remember. Pretty easy to flip. Again, you just have any artifact in your graveyard, and the iceberg itself mills for one of them. So it ends up being like 2 mana for a draw spell and a 6 mana 6/6 all off of one card. It's quite a lot of stats. Definitely between the Cloud Guard and the iceberg here. I think those are both really good. There's very solid black removal spells as well. Join the Dead, Dead Weight. Very solid pack, but I'm just going to keep it simple here and take a very powerful white card that also synergizes great with our first pick. Pick number 3. Talk about keeping it simple. Another Oltec Cloud Guard. Really cool stuff in these packs, though. There's also the Tinker's Tote. This is 3 artifacts off of the one spell, so that gives you plenty of stuff to sack to cards like Dusk Rose Reliquary or to craft with that mechanic. There's Ukbenbach, the Great Mistake. Pretty sweet blue-black finisher. Some reasonable red artifact-focused cards that are pretty fun. But Oltec Cloud Guard was just great stat line for the cost, and I'm going to stick with that here. Pick number 4, we have Skullcap Snail here for the little ravenous rats or virus beetle of the set, the corrupt court official, if you will. That would be fine. Waterlogged Hulk was a pretty fun vehicle for blue-based decks. I don't think it's worth going off color for right now, though. I mean, there's no white cards in the pack, so we have to go off color, but I think I'd take the Snail over it. Or the Sunshot Militia. This is a good card for Boros decks. Little red-white aggro decks will end up having a lot of little gnome tokens, finicky artifacts like Dusk Rose Reliquary, and map tokens sitting around. So once your opponent stabilizes and gets their big blockers down that you can't attack through, this can be a good way to get the last few points of damage in to finish the game up. So I do like Sunshot Militia. I think that's also pretty reasonable. Glimpse the Core could be fun for some ramp stuff, but I'll go Sunshot Militia here. Ooh, this is a sweet pack here. There's the Caparocti Sunborn to fully commit to Boros. 4 mana 4/4. Whenever it attacks, you can tap 2 of your untapped artifacts or creatures to discover 3. So it's like the Cascade mechanic from forever ago. You get to exile cards to reveal something with mana value 3 or less from the top of your deck. And then you get to cast that card for free or draw it into your hand. So this was a really sweet card, but it does lock us into guaranteed Boros here, versus Clay-Fired Bricks also being a very, very sweet card and fitting perfectly into any white deck whatsoever versus one specific color pair. Like, I could see a path of taking Clay-Fired Bricks and still ending up in like blue-white artifacts, or I don't even remember what green-white was supposed to be in the set, but like blue-white artifacts or black-white sack, or we could still end up in Boros, which is about like tapping extra artifacts and stuff. But yeah, I mean, this card's just awesome. 2 mana, gain a couple life, get a plains. It ramps into itself. Like, it helps make sure you hit the land drops into flipping itself in the late game and getting 2/2/2s and buffing the rest of your board. Yeah, Clay-Fired Bricks was very good. So I'm just going to roll with that. It's also the more flexible card. All right, let's see what green-white was about. What does this signpost uncommon say? Kutsil, Malamet Exemplar. Whenever one or more creatures you control with power greater than its base power deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay, so it's like a +1/+1 counter deck. Yeah, because that's what the Seed Stones is doing as well. So yeah, green-white was reasonable as well, as far as I remember. It was really just like basic generic aggro stuff, but also a little bit of +1/+1 counter synergy. I think we're at the point now with 4 very good white spells. We're pretty much locked in on that color. So I don't think Jade Seedstones is any more flexible than the Kutsil. So this pick here is going to be entirely just based on power level. We don't have to worry about flexibility at all. So would we rather have 4 mana for 3 counters and then a 7 mana stabilizer? Or 3 mana for a card draw engine, should we have any counters on the board? This plays pretty well with the Clay-Fired Bricks once we get that flipped. But the fact that it doesn't do anything unless you have creatures with higher power than their base power feels a little bit narrow. It does feel like it would be better, though, because white is like a really good low curve kind of aggro color. Just go wide, get as much damage onto the board as quickly as possible, whereas Seedstones feels better for like green-black or green-blue, one of the slower archetypes. I think green-white, we're going to want to keep our curve as low as we can. So I'll take the Kutsil here, get a stronger low mana value play. Pick 7, Attentive Sunscribe was a perfectly fine filler 2-drop. It's got relevant card types. It is an artifact. Very rarely, but sometimes it matters that it's a gnome as well. Scries every time it becomes tapped for any reason, so if you're using cards like Sunshot Militia, that counts as well. Glorifier of Suffering, I'm not so sure I want to take that so highly here. This is kind of like for the black-white deck, when you take a lot of expendable cards to sack. Soulcoil Viper was a sweet card, reanimation stuff. Black-green self-mill, but obviously doesn't really fit with what we're doing here. We'll just grab the Sunscribe. Pick 8, we're very deep into white, and here's a fine filler 5-drop for white decks. We want to have a decent artifact count for this because the best way to play it by far is 5 mana 4/4 pick up an artifact from your grave. If we play it and just pick up a Sunscribe, that's just a really solid deal. That's a good filler 5-drop, but currently that's kind of the only artifact we have that'll end up in the grave that early. The other 2 artifacts are kind of sitting around for a while, but it shouldn't be too hard to get more artifacts. This is a pretty artifact-heavy set. So I'll take it over mainly Cartographer's Companion, I could see being the biggest competition, just because it does play well with the cards that care about tapping multiple permanents. This is 2 permanents off 1 spell. Certainly not the strongest other card in the pack. That's probably Defossilize, but we're obviously really not like a black-based reanimation strategy. Pick 9, we got a filler 4 mana green creature. We got a filler craftable artifact flyer. This one's kind of hard to craft. Having to craft with an artifact turn 3, that's like very early in the game for sacrificing one of your permanents. You're just not really going to have artifacts in grave by then. Particularly in non-self-mill colors like in green-white. I really don't think the landmark's going to work very well in this deck because it's just not going to be flippable till a good chunk later. So just take a filler 4 mana spider. I can't imagine that being exciting either, though. I'll just take the landmark anyway, but likely one of our first cuts. And this pack is super bad all around. Just take the filler on color card, I guess. Just a 2-mana 1/3. Family Reunion, buff the whole board, or it's like a hexproof trick to save somebody from removal. Doesn't seem like particularly good filler, but on color filler, we'll take it. Pick 12. Staggering Size actually might be fine in here. If we're a green-white deck that's relatively aggressive, trample over for the last few bits of damage, or, you know, trample over in the early game with a Could Seal on the board, that'll give us the extra card draw because our creature's going to have more power than its base power. So we'll draw the card. Yeah. Staggering Size is actually probably better than the Family Reunion in this deck. Malamet Brawler, filler 2-drop. And Crack Shot, filler 2-drop. Let's see what we get in pack number 2. Alright, pack number 2 is really going to put our deck to the test here. How badly do we want to specifically get aggressive? Because there's a great 7-mana rare, but obviously that's not an aggressive card. Threefold Thunderhulk. 7 mana for a 0/0 with 3 +1/+1 counters on it, but when it enters, you get a 1/1 gnome equal to its power. So you get 3 1/1 gnomes. And then every time it attacks, you do it as well. You can also sack someone to put more counters on it. Yeah, this card, I think, is busted enough to just run the 7-drop here. When the Clay-Fired Bricks plays well with it as well, making sure we get more lands towards the 7 mana, I think we can take that here. If we wanted to be pure hyper aggro, which is definitely a thing in the format, we could take like a spring-loaded Saw Blades or something as a slightly cheaper card. Petrify is probably the actual best card for just hyper aggro, because you can use it on the offensive and shut off a blocker, whereas Saw Blades only hits a tapped creature, so only something that's attacked you, basically. But Thunderhulk is just a banger. Just grab that. Pick 2. Not a super exciting pack. I could be low enough on green here to speculate on the Sunborn instead of just taking a white card in the pack. Because the Capybara, the Malamet Brawler, really not reasons to be green, so we've got one good reason to be green, which is probably comparable in power level to the Sunborn, and then like one other decent card, Staggering Size. So Could Seal plus Staggering Size versus Sunborn plus Militia. I think that seems fine. If we want to take the safest pick here, something that could make the deck no matter what, that would be the Iron Paw Aspirant as a reasonable 2-mana creature that happens to play really well if we're specifically green-white. That would be pretty reasonable. And we're low enough on these other colors, this might also be a position to speculate on a different secondary color off of a card like Oaken Siren for the blue-white artifacts deck. This also just adds artifact mana, so this ramps towards the Thunderhulk, and it ramps towards the other 7-mana play of flipping the Clay-Fired Bricks. This actually does also seem like a pretty interesting spot to potentially take the Oaken Siren instead. Honestly, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to speculate in a lot of different directions here. Pick 3, Petrify is the safest pick by a lot, but it's between that and the Iceberg, which is another really solid finisher for blue-white artifacts. Card I like a lot. I think there's really just no guarantee that we get to be blue-white, and there's a 100% guarantee to play Petrify, so I'll take the Petrify. If that were not in the pack, that'd be a really easy Iceberg. Pick 4, couple of reasonable filler blue creatures, but I think the green one's the best in this pack. 4 mana 4/3 Explore when it enters to try to hit our land draws. Potentially a 4 mana 5/4 if it hits a non-land card on top, and then that works with Could Seal and stuff. Take an axe draw. Getting even more likely to be green than the other colors now. Although this pack, the green card's really bad. The white card doesn't work well in this deck. I'll take the blue card that's good for blue-white artifacts. Pick 6. Twists and turns. So 1 mana, scry 1, then look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it into your hand. If not, put a +1/+1 counter on the board and mill. if you want to. And then if we get 7 or more lands, this is a card draw engine. Make sure that we don't flood out, we just keep drawing creatures. This is probably fine. It's probably better than Envoy. Just fine on-curve filler. I'll take twists and turns. There's one of those Iron Paw aspirants that works great with the Cootseal. Yep. Alright, I believe we are locked in on green now, after all the dancing around a little bit. Although this pack looks like very bad green filler. I mean, the non-green filler is also bad. Blunder might be the best card. Little bounce spell. But no, we're just green. I'll take this random draw spell. Pick 9. Another Brawler or Companion. Companion slots on the curve nicely, gives us a little bit more artifacts to potentially like craft a clay-fired bricks in the end game. Gives us a token for Dusk Rose Reliquary as well. Staggering Size looks good in the Cootseal deck. I'll take another one of those. Pick 11. Not interested in any of this. Take a Brawler over Reunion, because I think I'm playing the Staggerings over the Reunion. Triple Staggering. Stone Tree can ramp towards our 2 different 7-mana finishers, mainly the big gnome, but also the clay-fired bricks thing. We have to have a cave to turn this into a 5/5, though. 3 mana, put 1 land into play. A 3 mana rampant growth that doesn't do anything else unless we draft caves. We could probably end up with like 2 caves maximum by the end of the draft, since we haven't drafted any yet. I just don't imagine that's going to happen, because I'm not running this without at least 2 caves. Alright. Pack number 3. Pugnacious Hammerskull. I mean, I don't have a lot of dinosaurs right now, but even just a 3-mana 6/6 defender that we can attack when it's profitable still, just once every other turn. This just seems like such a ridiculous stat line for the cost. It is still good even without a lot of dinos in the deck. I think I'm going to take that here, but a second Cootseal would be fine. Another Petrify would be great. Another Axe Draw. Let's go Hammerskull. Still feel a little low on removal. We have our 1 of Petrify and a bunch of combat tricks and 1 Reliquary. So 2 like removal spells. I think I can play Whirlpool in this instance. I do remember Deconstruction Hammer did play a lot better than it looked. Has solid synergy for a deck like this with specifically Cootseal, but also just throwing it onto flyers like the old tech Cloud Guards is nice. So I do want to mention this card, but I think it's still Whirlpool with how low we are in removal. Okay, let's cut a Capybara here. Now I'm at 23 cards, so now every time we take a card, we can cut a card. We'll just have our deck all ready and built. Once we get to the deck building, it'll be already done this way. I like the Sunscribe a lot better than these Brawlers and Crack Shots here. As an artifact creature to play on curve, it also sets up the draws, but again, being an artifact means that it'll help us craft the bricks in the end game. Let's take a Sunscribe, cut a Brawler. Tendril of the Micro Tyrant. So a filler 2-mana 2/2 that if you top deck in the late game, also just spams out 7/7s with haste. It's gotta be way better than Brawler. Is it better than another Sunscribe? We really only have the 1 card that crafts an artifact. It's probably by a bit. Take the Tendrils, or the Tendril over the Brawler. Ooh, pick 5, we get a Miner's Guidewing, one of the many great 1-mana creatures in the set that made it so aggressive. 1 mana for a 1/1 Flying Vigilance. When it dies, one of your creatures explores. So if you have a non-land card on top of your deck when this thing dies, then you got essentially 2 power and toughness on your 1-mana card and got a Flying Vigilant threat for a while. if there was a land on top when this died, you got a 1/1 flying vigilant threat and you drew a card when it died. Either way, great value for the cost. Pick number 6. Speaking of great value for the cost, Sinnoh Scout, 1 mana 1/1 explore when it enters. Could just be a 1 mana 2/2 or a 1 mana 1/1 draw a card. Either of those stat lines is very good. The issue I'm seeing here is we do have a Pugnacious Hammerskull, and there are plenty of reasonable dinosaurs in this pack, like the Bristleback as a finisher, or the Kincaller as a solid filler dino on curve. I just feel like the stat line of the Scout is so worth it. Again, 1 mana 2/2 or 1 mana 1/1 draw a card. It doesn't get worse than either of those stats. Yeah, I'm going to take that. And even if it's a 1 mana 2/2, it's a 1 mana 2/2 Surveil 1. Deconstruction Hammer is a good card to toss onto a Guidewing or a Cloud Guard. I don't know if we'll actually have room for it, though. I've got a good chunk of non-creatures right now. What if we take another creature instead? I feel like I have more very mid-filler creatures than I have very mid spells currently. Well, I guess in the presence of agents. Needs to get out of here. I suppose we can cut some staggering sizes if nothing else. So it's cut a staggering size for a Deconstruction Hammer, or cut a staggering size for another creature, or cut a Cartographer's Companion for another creature. What's the creature count? We have 15 creatures. Are there any non-creature cards that are like making creatures? Clayfired Bricks at 7 mana. That doesn't quite count because it's so late. I do think this wants to be a 17 creature deck. So I think we need to add a creature here. So cut a staggering size, put a creature in. That's 16 creatures and a Clayfired Bricks. Feels like where we want it to be. Another Iron Paw Aspirant to synergize with Cootseal. I'll play it over Malamet Brawler. Envoy of Okaneka How, I will play over Cartographer's Companion. Dusk Rose Reliquary is looking a little more awkward without a really expendable token like the Companion makes, but Companion is just pretty bad anytime we're not drawing Reliquary, I think. And we'll still have some Gnome tokens here or there, some 1/1s or 1/2s sitting around. Deconstruction Hammer. Play 1 staggering size, 1 hammer. I feel like the staggering size is really cute, though. Some of our 3 mana and up creatures. It's pretty close between the two. A bunch of stuff we'll not be playing to wrap up the draft, so that's the deck here, I think. Yeah, we'll call it a deck here and just hop right into the gameplay after the drafting today. All right, here we are on the draw for game 1. Should we survive till 7 mana, we've got a real good finisher here, and we have a 2-3-4 curve out to make sure that we're playing plenty of stuff in the early game to help us survive a little longer. Our opponent starts with Nikanzeal, Current Conductor. 2 mana, 2/3. Whenever any of their creatures explores a land, they can put it just straight onto the battlefield. So super fast ramp. And every time they're exploring and getting +1/+1 counters, they're also putting +1/+1 counters on that. So super strong card for the blue-green Explorer deck. I think I need mana enough to ditch Whirlpool, but having a way to kill Nikanzeal feels exciting too. Plus they have ramp. Yeah, they have a Dart Frog ramping towards stuff as well. I think a removal spell could go a very long way right now. Otley's Final Strike. Blow up our 3/3. Poke for 3. Still haven't done any exploring yet. And they have 5 mana minimum next turn. I think the odds of them playing a really big creature are high enough to not just blow up Nikan Zeal instead of playing Cloud Guard. We can get kind of punished either way. If I don't blow up Nikan Zeal and then they explore like twice next turn, that's pretty awful. But if I do blow up Nikan Zeal and then they just play a 6 mana 7/7 dinosaur, then that's also super punished. Malamet Scythe. Let's just get a bunch of damage out of the one Nikan Zeal. Tendril of the Micro Tyrant, or Myco Tyrant. If they make it to 7 mana, that's a really, really big problem, but right now they are on 5 mana. I can only play 1 spell this turn. I think I'm killing Nikan Zeal. 6. 7th mana is the Thunder Hulk. Yeah, I do need the 7th. It's a 4 mana re-equip. Yeah, let's pop the Nikan Zeal while it's tapped. Chart a course, draw 2. There's land number 6 out of 7 for the Tendril. Although if they use 7 mana to activate Tendril, it will be a tapped creature. Cave Diver is kind of a nightmare. Unblockable creature with the Scythe to buff it up. If they explore once or twice here, we're dead. If they don't have a way to explore, then Thunder Hulk should get them. Ooh. Cavern Stomper, giant creature that can force me to not trumpet, force me to block with something with at least 3 power. So should they have a cheap enough removal spell, they could like kill the Kutzil and force the Thunder Hulk to block? Not good. They could have the +3/+3 trample trick. I die to the +3/+3 trample trick no matter how I play it, right? No, I guess if I just block with Kutzil, I'm not lethal here. If they have the trample trick, I take 7, go to 2. If I double block, I do very much straight up lose to that. Plus, like, then they wouldn't even need to have it. Right, they could give it +3/+3 in trample, but they could also just not and kill both my 3/3s without me even killing the Stomper. Okay, there's the concession from our opponent. Some thinking there in the end. Feels like they probably had the +3/+3 trample trick, but it was just not quite enough damage. It would just hit for 7 and not 9, so we clean things up with the counterattack. I was nervous. I don't think we could actually lethal next turn. Even if they play nothing here, kill that, pass back, I attack all. Block, block, block. They take 4, they survive with 1 life and then kill us if I attack all. I don't know if that game was completely over yet, but I will absolutely take the victory. That is going to be 1-0 heading into game 2. All right, here we are on the draw again for game number 2. Very similar hand to our first one. The curve is a little worse. We don't have a 3-drop. But it's another, like, if we make it to 7 mana, we have the 7 mana bomb that won us last game. Our opponent is on the play, curving out from turn 1, though. 1-drop into 2-drop. Probably so on from there. That is what Lost Caverns of Ixalan is all about. I don't have anything to do turn 3, so turn 3 I'm gonna like block with a staggering size up. Guide Wing for the bats. We have our plan to win the long game, so we're not really trying to race right now. Just trying to prolong the game as much as we can. Tinker's Tote. Cool. One mana for potential trick. I don't remember. This set is from 2023. It has been a little while. Almost. I guess a little over 2 years now. But as far as I remember, I can't think of any 1 white mana combat tricks. I just have Tinker's Tote here. All right, let's see. Let's see what happens. It lives. Let's go. Gives them the bat descended trigger, but they could get that trigger off sacking Tote anyway. And they scryed at the top, so it didn't even really do anything. Play a Cloud Guard here. Go Mega Miniature Sarah Angel. Water Wind Scout. This was a great common. Love this card. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer and a map token. Oh, and they get Abuelo? That was another sweet one. You get to exile one of your creatures or artifacts and flicker it back on the battlefield in the end step, so you can redo enter the battlefield effects like Water Wind Scout over and over. So opponent's got some very strong stuff coming up here. Find a land. I will draw it. It's just working towards 7 mana to spam Tendril the Micro Tyrant and Thunder Hulk stuff. I feel so bad for the Micro Tyrant. I keep calling him Micro. He's not a small tyrant, he's a fun guy. This is not good. They are outflyering me right now. As soon as I trade with one of them, I don't have the stats to block any others. No, I have no artifacts for archaeologists. I gotta get stats on this board regardless. Scry 3 it is. One aspirant is interesting to put a counter on Guidewing and trade into one of their flyers. I think it's Thunderhulk next turn, and then counter on Guidewing the turn after, and whatever else I've drawn by then. think I keep an aspirant. Because I already have the 7 mana. Petrify the Tendril. Jam forward down to 10. Wait, is this enough damage to just aspirant instead? I can aspirant and activate the maze. Sounds moderately crazy to me, but I have to stop damaging. The Thunderhawk's not going to outrace at that rate. Nice. Happy to get that on not the flyer, but that may mean they just have more to use on the flyer. Yeah, we activate like this because I've got a 1 mana green spell. We have the scout we could find. Did not find the scout. No more removal. No more removal. Can Abuelo exile opposing cards too? Hopefully not. No attacks! That's what we needed. Thank you very much, Iron Paw Aspirants. I mean, I have the mana to play Axdraw and activate the maze again. What are the counter spells in this set? I don't remember. I think they're like hard counters where we won't ever be able to play around them. So we just run out the Thunderhulk. I think if they had removal, they would have killed Guidewing, so they're waiting for more removal off the top. Or we just start Thunderhulking in. Yep, they're just going to do some Waterwing Scout digging. And indeed, Abuelo only works on their own cards. They waited till our end step, which is good for us, because that means it's not going to come back till their end step. And map tokens are sorcery speed, so they won't be able to use it this turn. Okay. I think we hold all this mana up for Maze plus Axdraw. And just like, if they try to blow up Thunderhulk, then we can spend mana saving them, but if they don't, we'll just play all the stuff. Cogwork Wrestlers, we only get 2 gnomes. Fair enough. Quicksand Whirlpool, also exiled. Okay. Then I will not put any more eggs in that basket. We will instead be on Team Microwave Maze. I'll draw the scout. Use the map on Abuelo. Find unstable glyph bridge. That's not allowed. You already played Abuelo. Choose a creature with power 2 or less they control. Destroy all creatures except those. So Abuelo dies at least. So they play Glyph Bridge, and I get to keep a gnome, and they get to keep a Waterwind Scout, and then they flip this in that giant monstrosity. So I can't afford to play any more creatures when they have a Glyph Bridge coming up. Wait, they don't have their 5th mana yet. They can't play Glyph Bridge next turn. So I actually can play Cootseal here. And we don't have to worry about interaction from them. My boiler's just infinite blocks, though. Alright. Never mind, I gotta spam the maze. There's the land for Glyph Bridge, so they play that next turn. Card is absolutely busted. Maybe they don't play it next turn. They're still playing creatures of their own. Envoy of Okanakahau post board wipe. Man, they are still at 26 here. Okay. If I don't play the Cloud Guard, then they don't really have to board wipe. They just kill me in the sky pretty quick. If I play Cloud Guard, we finally push the issue on the board wipe, I think. Since they can't get in. Yes. Cool. Oh, they can just make me leave the Tendril on board. Just super gross. Go to 5. Oh, these the cards I scribed to the bottom a century ago? That's funny. I've got no life gain here. We don't have any more flyers in this deck. We have multiple removal spells we haven't drawn. Whirlpool, Petrify, and Reliquary. So there's 3 removal spells in here. We need to draw removal, so I need to get Scrying, I think. So Sunscribe can start scrying. And we dig as well. Because we know 2 of these are not removal. So yeah, here's 4 not removal spells to put to the bottom. And then just explore twice. For 2 surveils. There's removal. But they're going to have 2 flyers now, because they're going to have the gigantic Glyph Bridge and the Waterwind Scout, and I only deal with one of them. I think we just die. I think we just got out-bombed by Glyph Bridge, really, but also just out-flyered. Abuelo did a ton of work, too. Bought practically infinite time. Yeah, we are dead to the Waterwind Scout. I would have needed another removal spell or the life gain bricks. I don't think there's anything the maze can hit that will save us. Yeah, none of our creatures save us. Our artifacts and our enchantments do. Our removal spells and our bricks. I can scry one, but there's really no point. Dang. We were one card away. I don't know which side is the top, but whatever side is the top, we were literally one card away either way from winning. Rough. Maybe they won't equip. One and one it is. Heading into game 3. Here we are for game 3. This is a really awkward opening hand. We don't do anything until turn 4, which is incredibly slow for this format. And I could get stuck off green and really do nothing. Yeah, I'm going to mulligan that one. This is just as bad. But I'll keep it. Not going down to 5. Hello. Playing against Boros, they start with the Vanguard of the Rose. Our first 2 draws are a green spell and another Plains. Glorify the Suffering, they can sack that to just have a 4/3 out. But they're not going to. Drop our Cloud Guard. Keparakti Sunborns, that's why they didn't sack. We draw another green spell. Poke for 3 in the sky. We are hitting for 6 in the sky every turn. We've got a 3-turn kill here. And let's just go for it. We'll just chump the Sunborn. 6 damage in the sky, a couple turns in a row. We gotta hit castable spells or lands, though. I should have specified. That's on me. Green sources. Now I've specified. We'll hit the forest next turn. Are these the 2 green spells that were in the 7-card hand we mulliganed? I kind of feel like they are. At least Staggering Size, I think, was in there in the initial 7. I think we're dead here. I think we've missed on lands too long, even if we hit one next turn, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, Staggering Size does not do lethal. Twisted Turns doesn't do anything. And if we try to just block, we lose our whole board to still go to like 2. And we lose our whole board and still just die, right? Because this is Menace, so I go like block, 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 take 5, and then take the last from Militia. Alright, real rough draws there. Gonna give us no shot that game. That is gonna be 1 and 2 heading into game 4. Alright, here we are for game 4. We got both colors in the opening hand and an early Scryer. 1 land away from hitting the Explore card as well, which helps hit mana. Ooh, clay-fired bricks guarantee land 3, play River Herald Guide. That seems good to me. It's the only way to guarantee we do not miss a land draw next turn. Because if I play the Sunscribe now, I could still draw a non-land and then scry. River Herald Guide, the most likely way to hit our next land. There it is. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff this game. I don't hate that trade, but with ways to put counters on the guide, I think I'm fine either way. Okay. I've got my 5th land for next turn, so don't need to put out the Scryer here. Let's get some damage going in the sky. Creator of Sun's creation, so every time that they discover, they do it twice now. Scary. Trade the crack shot now. Here's Sunscribe. Tolly's favor. Discover 3 twice. Their first hit is a dowsing device. And the second hit, an Otaclan landmark. Jam 5. Jam 5. I'll go to 15. Well, we're guaranteed Thunderhulk mana here. Grab a tendril. Spring-loaded saw blades blow up the flyer. Oh, and then flip the Geode Grotto. Same time. Yeah, the flash artifact there, pretty scary. Sunshot Militia start pinging the heck out of us. There's a ping. They craft the saw blades into the 5/5 vehicle. We can't attack into it. They can tap 2. Or no, they just crew 1. Just crew 1 with Militia. There's a 5/5. So we just play Thunderhulk. And they just pass through. Duskrose Reliquary's the draw. I think Reliquary on the Chariot is not crazy to me. I can also just flip bricks. I think Reliquary the Chariot. Send in the Thunder Hulk looks good. Okay, blow up the Thunder Hulk. You got it. And we're just gonna go wide with our flipped bricks. Seismic Monstrosaur plus Geode Grotto could be a very high amount of trampling power. That's pretty terrifying. But I have a Tendril to activate a 7/7. On blocks... Yeah, I guess on blocks I just make a 7/7. Since we hit the 8th land to do that and have it untapped. I feel like I'm dying to this Sunshot Militia. Most likely. Or the Sunbird. Just another way to ping me for damage. Turn over turn in the board stall. That's gonna be gnarly. What? Okay. We will eat their boulder with our 7/7. Scout is the draw. Two 2/2s and +1/+1 to everybody, or another 7/7. What's better? Probably the +1/+1 to everybody, because then I can actually attack with a 7/7 and still have blocks right now. We force a block here. Alright, makes sense. Militia's gonna be less damage turn over turn than the Altasaur, plus the Altasaur is a bigger blocker for the future, so they just trump with Militia. There's Tinker's Tote, bunch of chump blockers for them. Some life gain off sacking it too. Buff up the Monstrosaur for some trample damage. Take 3, kill the Monstrosaur. I could lose both the aspirants to take 0. Take 3 puts me to 7 against Altasaur, hitting me 4 times for dead. Yeah, let's block with all that. Scout. Find a land. Activate Tendril in their end step. We're just chipping our way through their 1/1s now. I think Altasaur's probably gonna do it. If we get enough creatures, though, we could go wide for lethal, but Tinker's Tote puts them at essentially 11. Does Sunbird plus haste do it with Altasaur? It might. Maybe I needed to play the Chumper. Although it gives trample. Doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Does the Sunbird have trample? No. This hits for 7. Not quite lethal. I guess I probably should have played the Guide Wing over activating Tendril here, though, still. Yeah, the Vigilance, too, to make sure we don't have, like, a counterattack lethal. Tragic. I mean, I guess that means if I played Guide Wing instead, I would just be stopping 2 points of damage. Fully chumping. It's not even great. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take 8. But they live because they have Tinker's Totes. They live because they have Tinker's Tote, and then they can crack back for lethal because they can block in such a way to keep Altasaur, to keep Curator, to keep Vanguard. This is not it. They can block with a 1/1 gnome and a Vanguard and then just sack the 1/1 gnome to the Vanguard. Staggering size should get them. If we live a turn, staggering size for the kill. Oh, I forgot about the kills. We really should have played Guidewing the turn before, because this is big enough to just trade with the Sunbird effigy anyway. If they hit a land, I believe we win. But there's some spells they could draw to kill us here. Plundering Pirate. Don't think that's enough, because staggering size on an 8/8 is so big. Guess I reveal the staggering size off the Explorer, but, like, what are they going to do about it? Yeah, there's the concession from our opponents. Oh, that was close stuff. They had all that ping going on with the Altasar, as well as the ping from the 1/3, the Sunshot Militia. That was pretty scary. The trample from a Tali's favor came in for some extra damage, potentially. The Geode Grotto with Tramplers was also looking quite scary there. The Dowsing Device getting a lot of damage. Super close game of Magic there, and I really did not play it right. We should have played the Miner's Guidewing a turn earlier for sure. But we still barely get there in the end. And that is 2-2 heading into game 5. This may be our best opening hand so far. It's not particularly interactive, but it curves like nobody's business. And that is what Lost Caverns of Ixalan is all about. We got Guidewing into Sunscribe into Hammerskull into the Dinosaur to go with the Hammerskull to actually untap it. Our opponent is starting with the Tarian's Soul Cleaver, which is really threatening over the course of a long game. Hopefully our hand is aggressive enough that the game does not go too long. So I went for Sunscribe over the Aspirant there. Aspirant would be good on this board. Making this a 2/2 Flying Vigilance would be pretty sweet, but I think it's pretty important to set up the Scries to make sure that we hit land 4 on turn 4, so that I can play the Axe Draw right after the Hammerskull. And the top was a good 4-mana creature, but I don't have the 4th land, so we scry that to the bottom looking for the 4th land for the Axe Draw. Playing against Jeskai, blue, red, and white. There's Tinker's Tote for a bunch of blockers on the ground, and we did not hit the Dinosaur mana. Aspirant counter on Guidewing, send in the board. Could Aspirant counter the Sunscribe too. Petrify the Bat. Guess I could just staggering size here as well. There's the land, I'll keep it. Looks like a fine, staggering size turn. Keep everybody on this board. Probably playing our 2/2 drops on turn 5 or whatever it is now. Waiting on the axe draw till the Hammer Skull's untapped. Zoetic Glyph. Petrify actually plays pretty well against that card. It is a phenomenal card, but it triggers when the ore is put into the graveyard. So if we just pacify whatever it's on, it doesn't actually trigger. Yep. Petrify that. Seven drop. You know what? I'm gonna keep it and play the axe draw towards land 5. Gives us a backup win condition if our opponent manages to fully stabilize. Because I do still already have my play next turn. I don't need something immediately castable off the top here. Get rid of the Tendril, trying to draw land off axe draw. The Tendril would basically just be another 7 mana win condition. Certainly not what we're looking for right now, since we have one already. Adorable play school dinosaur with light beams all over it. Come on out. And we hit the land. Roaming Throne. Very threatening card, incredibly powerful in Commander. Double up all your triggers of whatever card type you want. Twists and turns. What do we see? We see a land. I will keep it and draw it. Axe draw trades into the Roaming Throne. The Guidewing puts them down to 6. There's Captain Storm, really powerful in the early game, putting a +1/+1 counter on one of their pirates every time they play any artifact. It's a little late here. And there's the concession from our opponent once we drop that Thunderhulk. That is 3-2, at least a 50-50 record on the return to Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Another pretty bad hand mana-wise here. Plains, 4 green spells. If we draw a forest, we have that Hammer Skull into Axe draw again, but I think I have to mulligan this. Any land gets us to Envoy at worst, but we've got 8 green sources in the deck. If we don't hit any, this game is over fast. Mulligan. It's exactly like how we lost our second game. Mull to 6-2 monocolored hands in a row. This one at least has Sunscribe. Do I gotta go down to 5? I think I'm just gonna keep and pray on this Sunscribe here. But Sunscribe's certainly worse on the draw. It's harder to get that attack in before they've established like a 3-3 or something. First draw of the game's another green card. Second draw of the game's another plains. It is a straight up repeat of our second loss so far. Okay, luckily a small card. Oh god. Third green draw. Sunscribe finds a white creature. I need a green land so much more than I need anything else. I think I even have to scry away white spells. Right, we started with a 2 green card hand. I put one of them on the bottom for the mulligan. Then I drew 2 more green spells, so I have 3 green spells in this hand. I think I have to scry to that. Unfortunately, there's the Tithing Blade to kill our Sunscribe. Fanatical Offering to trigger their Skull Taker. I have a 3-3 Menace, draw a couple cards. White Source 5. Oh, that's White Source 6. I miscounted. Clay Fired Bricks from our opponent. Excellent card. We showed that off in one of our wins. Guarantee the lands towards flipping it, and then a really strong card to flip in the late game. Glorifier, sack permanent, get 2+1/+1 counters. At least we find a white spell here. But still no green mana coming on turn number 6. Whirlpool on the Cloud Guard, hit for 8. Fair enough. Turn 6 is another white spell. I'm good there. 3 and 3 it'll be for this run. I think this deck could do better than that. Clearly we had some really bad draws. 2 of our losses being fully mono-colored and forced mulligans. But that is what it is sometimes. I think 3 and 3 is still, you know, a fine average record. And I don't think this deck was absolutely incredible or anything, but the ways that we lost those games is still pretty rough. We lost one game to Unstable Glyph Bridge. Fair enough. We won plenty games off of Threefold Thunderhulk, so live by the bomb, die by the bomb a little bit, but I think overall, some rough mana draws were the worst detractions to this deck, and I don't think there was anything we could do to change that about the way it's built. We're on a 9-8 split. There are no dual lands in this format. We've even got bricks to hit another land. We've got some exploring as well to try to help our mana a little bit. But a little bit of scrying too. Just drew really, really awkwardly in 2 of those games for 2 of those losses, and that's just a part of Magic. Biggest under and overperformers here. Overall, the deck is a little bit of an underperformer, but as we said, that was mostly just variance stuff with some bad mana. I think on average, this is probably like a 5-3 deck. I think it's a solid one that could get a decent win rate, could break even or be in the money by a bit. Wouldn't expect a 7 winner out of it. It's not absolutely perfect or incredible. But the deck as a whole is a little bit of an underperformer. Any specific card that really added to that underperforming? I suppose Staggering Size is one of the biggest underperformers. I mean, it did find the win in one of those games, and it also helped get some early damage in another one. So it did play well in a couple games, but the problem was that it played really, really poorly in the 2 games that we didn't have green mana, which obviously any green card is going to play poorly in those games. But one of the things about this card, as a combat trick, just about combat tricks in general, is that they're not good in all points of the game, right? They're good when you're ahead because you can attack in, you can trample over. They're good when you're at parity because you can get into combat where you're like block, play a combat trick, and try to eat their creature. but they're really quite bad when you're far behind on the board, because they're not going to add to the number of creatures that you have to block with. They're not going to lower the number of creatures your opponent has to attack you with. So obviously the final game of Magic where it was stuck on our hand, we literally couldn't cast it. It underperformed there. But even the second loss, where we did eventually find the green mana, the fact that we had 2 green cards in that hand that did not actually put a creature onto the board or stop a creature was destructive. I think if one of these was just like an axe draw or something instead in that game, we may have had a tiny, tiny chance of adding to it, but that is where Staggering Size could be a little bit of an underperformer, and Twist and Turns could be a little bit of an underperformer. But I didn't want to say Twist and Turns because when we move to the overperformers, I want to say Twist and Turns is one of the overperformers. This is a card I don't remember playing with too much, or at least I don't remember the card that well. It looks like fine filler, like you draw 1 and then maybe get a card drawn in the late game, but we actually had like 2, maybe 3 games where we had the flipped Mycoid Maze in the end and drew a lot of cards off of it. We still lost one of those games to Unstable Glyph Bridge, but this was like one of our best cards in that game. And I think if I just fully leveraged Mycoid Maze there, I might have still been able to win that game if I played slightly less to the board. I think the Unstable Glyph Bridge game was going to be difficult, because the way I was thinking when I drew the Cloud Guard was like, if I play any of my other ground creatures, they can just not play the Glyph Bridge and still expect to kill me in the sky in a couple swings. But then if I do play the Cloud Guard, then I don't have flying blockers for what they have left because I have no more flyers in my hand. So I think if we played that one out to just holding the Glyph card, maybe I had enough other ground creatures to force the Glyph Bridge. We just like spam all of the ground creatures that we can so that they Glyph Bridge, and I have like just Cloud Guard left in hand, and maybe that buys enough time. So certainly that was the one game I think we might have been able to win, was the Glyph Bridge loss. Certainly not the other 2 mana issue losses. But yeah, Twist and Turns, even if we lost a game with it on the board, Mycoid Maze was pretty sweet. I would call that a bit of an overperformer. We got a lot of flipped Mycoid Mazes running around. The Tendril of the Micro Tyrant, I guess, could also be a bit of an overperformer, because I was like, oh, it's just like a good mana sink the late game. It could be fine. We actually did win a game off of it. So that was pretty sweet. We got multiple 7/7 lands to bash in with, so that was cool. Thunderhawk played great, but when you take a card and you say that it is great and it is going to play great and that it does play great, that doesn't really count as an overperformer. That's just performing to expectations. Anyways, we'll stop rambling now and get to recording tomorrow's draft. That is going to do it for the flashback to the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more like it, you can like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send us more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.